Episode 102 this week, Elementary Dear Data. This one, probably the best episode of the first two seasons, arguably. This one starts off with Data going to engineering, and LaForge had told him it was urgent, but he really just wanted to show him the old ancient wooden ship that he'd built out of wood for a captain that they were going to see at some starbase soon. LaForge had served under this captain. He built the thing by hand out of wood, and Data was like, well, why wouldn't you just replicate it? And LaForge explained part that he enjoyed the most out of doing this was the satisfaction of making it himself. It was lost on Data. He didn't fully understand it. But LaForge said, also, we're supposed to go to the holodeck and reenact Sherlock Holmes. So Data's all kinds of excited. And when one of the engineers asked LaForge where he would be in case they needed him, Data says 22 Baker Street, and he's off to be Sherlock Holmes. So they go to the holodeck, they start the program, and Data's got it beat within seconds, and LaForge gets mad, storms out of the holodeck. Data chases after. When they're in the Tin Forward Lounge, LaForge is trying to explain to Data part of the allure for him was solving the mystery and not knowing what was going to happen way before they ever entered the holodeck. Data didn't understand that concept. He thought that they were solving the mystery, and LaForge is explaining, no, you're just using pre-existing memories of the pre-existing stories and solving them how it played out in the books. I want something that's got mystery to it that we don't know how it plays out before we start the program. And Dr. Pulaski overheard this. She starts laughing, saying Data's incapable of that. He couldn't solve a real mystery. He just can solve what he already knows in advance. So LaForge bets the doctor. They all reconvene at the holodeck, and then Data once again beats the thing because they had combined two Sherlock Holmes mysteries into one. He recognized the elements of both, beat it, and Dr. Pulaski says, see, I told you so. So LaForge is like, wait, I have an idea. And he tells the computer to create a mystery that is capable of defeating Commander Data. The computer says, well, okay. That sparks life into Professor Moriarty, who wasn't even in that case. And Moriarty becomes self-aware away from the holodeck. He recognizes they're aboard the Starship Enterprise. He kidnaps Dr. Pulaski. Things start going haywire. LaForge and Data soon realize, hey, something isn't right here. And Moriarty's able to shake the ship and call for the arch, things that a hologram shouldn't be able to do. So they finally get scared. They have a staff meeting. Picard's like, well, maybe I should go down there and talk to this character. And Data says, well, I'll go change. Picard says, no, I'll change. So they think we're from London in the 1800s, which made no sense, and Moriarty is already aware of the Enterprise and so forth. But they go down there. They meet up with Moriarty. He was having tea and crumpets with Dr. Pulaski, so she wasn't in terrible danger, even though he was prepared to put her in terrible danger if need be. Picard and Data explained that Moriarty's incapable of leaving the holodeck, even though they had taken things out of the holodeck moments earlier and it was fine. They said that Moriarty would disappear, which was what happened in season 1 when the characters stepped out of the holodeck. Moriarty was like, so I'm trapped here. And Picard says, we'll save this program, we'll work on getting you out and treating you as an actual person. Moriarty says, well, okay then. So they saved the program, and that was that. LaForge had accidentally told the computer to do this by saying create a character capable of defeating Commander Data rather than a character that was capable of beating the fictional Sherlock Holmes. LaForge said, oops. Picard's like, don't worry about it. And they talked Moriarty out of it. Then on to the next mission they were. But some interesting notes in this one. Paramount did a parody of Sherlock Holmes, which they felt gave them the right to make this episode. The people that held the rights to the Sherlock Holmes mysteries didn't agree, so there was a gray area. They kind of battled back and forth. They finally settled things a few years after this, which let them do the next Sherlock Holmes episode, but that's why there was such a long gap. The character that played Moriarty would come back in, I believe, season 6, and they had to explain why there was such a long gap, so this set that episode up really, really well. If you were a fan of Riker or Worf or Counselor Troy, you're largely out of luck because they were barely in the episode. If they had other extras say their lines, you wouldn't have missed anything at all in the episode because they were not integral at all. It was all Data, LaForge, Doctor, and Captain. That was the only real character involvement in this one. But it was well acted, well done story, I thought. The holodeck still being felt out by the writers. They didn't know if things could be taken from the holodeck and still exist out of the door, or if it couldn't. They were still going back and forth. In this one episode, even, they went back and forth on it, so they were still tinkering with that. Might have been Pulaski's best episode. She still showed her bias against Data, which was always weird, but it was there. She didn't think he could solve an actual criminal mystery, but he was more than capable with his skill set. He just chose to recreate what was already written, but that was Pulaski for you. So pretty much episode 102